welcome everybody to round 11 of the PCDC Managers League here at Spa-Francorchamps. We have Jan Lammers lining up on the front row next to Ross Cheever. Well, Ross Cheever is next to him, I should say. And we're off. Jan Lammers, half a tenth in qualifying, that was the difference. And here we go into turn one. Does Lammers get through cleanly? Oh, Ross Cheever actually gets a run around the outside. And Cheever goes up to Rouge and Radio and then nearly touch. Jan Lammers actually running slightly wide, and we have Ayrton Senna then looking up, trying to make a move as well, but Lammers pulls to the inside, going up into Lecombe. And they go three wide with Alain Prost getting into the mix. And oh, someone spun, I think, at some point. Let's take a look. Oh, and Senna's off. Senna's off. Senna is off into the gravel, and the whole field gets held up here. But who was that spun? JJ Leto. He did get going again. No damage, it seems, but yeah, he's caught on the wrong end of that initial skirmish. And now Alain Prost in the lead with the two Zach speeds behind. And I do want to see, I think Ross Cheever must have made some mistake at some point, because he was up in second, so not sure what happened to him. Meanwhile, both of the Ferraris now up into fourth and fifth after having a pretty poor qualifying for Ferrari standards. Alain Prost still leading, and the two Zach speeds right behind. But you can see those the Scuderia are following closely. So first you have Maurizio Gugelmin in fourth, then Emerson Fittipaldi in fifth. For that opening lap, as Ross Cheever tries to move up the inside in the last chicane, the bus stop. And then comes Nelson Piquet. Then we have Al Unser Jr., who has been looking speedy for the entirety of practice. I don't think he managed to piece his qualifying together, but let's see what he can do in the race. And now here's Roberto Moreno, and now Ayrton Senna, after that mistake initially, went to Lecombe, now down to 10th position. Obviously, making a mistake in those opening laps is always crucial because everyone's so close together. And then you can see that those mistakes cost dearly, as he is now trying to make his way past his teammate, and he does so in a clean manner. And then Mika Hakkinen, also runs slightly wide. He's fine though, rejoins immediately, but that could have been a big collision there with Michele Alboreto. And now we have Martin Brundle here in 14th. He's hanging on to the pack so far. And that Williams hopefully can bring a bit more competitiveness this time around. They're still dangling at the back. So far, so good. Meanwhile, Theo Fabi in the BMW. Then Eddie Lawson in the Eurobrun. Bobby Rahal in the second BMW. Then comes Nakajima. And then Dalmas again. Dalmas not quite up this pace this time. He's actually dropping back already from the back of the field. So being caught by Jeff Lees now. Alain Prost still leading. But now you can see here Maurizio Gugelmin, who is, well, slowly on his way to becoming the world champion this year, if everything goes his way. Been looking dominant, the Argentinian. And I believe that, well, he has the talent to do it. We've seen it time and time again. Curiously, only one win so far this season, but has been really consistent, as every race he's done has has ended up with a podium. So, yeah, Gugelmin looking fast, and he's slowly catching up to Jan Lammers in front. So we'll keep an eye on that. John Nielsen now down to 4th for Zach Speed. Then comes Emerson Fittipaldi in 5th. So the two Ferraris again looking strong, but we still have Alain Prost trying to extend that lead at the front of the pack. Now Ross Cheever down to 6th, and he's kind of settling into some sort of pace now. While we have Nelson Piquet, who is 7th for Benetton. Benetton currently 4th and tied in the standings with Lotus, so that mishap from Senna, it's really gonna help. Really gonna help Benetton here. But Senna now on the charge, getting past Al Unser Jr. here. I think goes up the inside at Blanchimont. No, doesn't quite manage it. That means he'll probably have to wait for the next opportunity. Fastest lap there for Maurizio Gugelmin, so really showing that he is quite a bit faster. I think about half a second over Alain Prost. And then now into the hairpin, and then down to Eau Rouge and Radio. And let's see now if Senna can line up this move on the straightaway. Should have a decent run. The Alonso Jr. managing to create that little bit of distance coming out of the La Source hairpin. Oh, and there is an issue there. Oh, one of the Ferraris, Emerson Fittipaldi, smoke out of the back of the Ferrari, and it has been going so good for Ferrari, but now early on in this race at Spa, troubles for the Ferrari. And surely that is a retirement for Emerson Fittipaldi. First casualty today, and he heads up into Rouen. Still going, but yeah, I don't think he will be getting that back to the pits. A miracle if he can get that car back to the pits. Oh, and now it's a fire, yeah. All gone wrong now for Fittipaldi. And there goes Alonso Jr. with Ayrton Senna right behind. So, oh, let's see at this point. Fittipaldi has to think about pulling off. Really dangerous at this point. He's endangering himself as well. He needs to get out of that car. As more cars come through the second Lotus now with Moreno. Oh. See now, where can he pull off? Okay, he's coming to a halt now. Oh, and there he goes right next to the pit. So hopefully the stewards there can run over, extinguish that fire as they're gonna do now. And that will be the end of the race for Emerson Fittipaldi. But yeah, Ferrari had that really good run in the last couple of races, but now one of their drivers retiring. Meanwhile, Alain Prost at the front, actually extending that lead, it seems, to Maurizio Gugelmin. So Prost really coming alive, had a really good round last time around at the Hungaroring, where he took victory. And now, very strong so far, 5 laps in. McLaren looking fast, but then same time, if you look at Yannick Dalmas, he is struggling, and that McLaren, so not quite sure what is going on in the camp of McLaren. And then a nice third and fourth so far for Zach Speed, so Lammers and Nielsen, like we've seen time and time again, very close in pace to each other and skill level, and they make a nice balanced squad. But here we go, Riccardo Patrese also with an issue. Seems you can hear the car cutting out once in a while, or something throttle related perhaps. Patrese will now try and get that Ligier back to the pits. Ligier also have scored their fair share of points. They've not done terribly, but yeah, they've just not pieced together a good string of results, which means they're 8th in the standings right now. So they now, as the Williams comes by Martin Brundle, will head into the pits now. There we go. Daisy goes in, and keep an eye. Ayrton Senna now up into 7th. So Al Unser Jr. up into 8th for Tyrrell. So Tyrrell in the points right now. And his teammate Michael Andretti just behind him. Again, one of those teams that we've seen have had a very balanced squad, but question being, of course, there's no real well, we don't know if it's down to the car or to the drivers, but it seems that Tyrrell, with sticking with Al Unser Jr., Michael Andretti, they're not exactly top tier drivers. Both IndyCar drivers, of course, in some capacity. Both American, but yeah, we've seen that. Although they're competitive in F1, I don't think either of them has quite what it takes to become a world champion, or even a well, purely race pace or race winner, I could say. But again, they're not doing terribly. They're definitely holding their own and doing better than quite a substantial amount of the grid. You know, they're dragging that Tyrrell up into 7th for now. And again, both of them on the cusp of points here. So no way is to slander to both of the drivers, but when you have caliber of Alain Prost, Ayrton Senna, Nelson Piquet on the grid, drivers like Unser Jr. and Andretti don't quite fit that same profile. Nevertheless, they've done a terrific job so far. They're continuing to do that, and will do that until the end of the season at least. Meanwhile, now we have Roberto Moreno in that second Lotus, who's also actually done quite a good job. Has been fairly close to teammate Ayrton Senna. The Brazilian duo really not doing bad. Both put in a respectable amount of points, but as we've seen, well, with Moreno, actually he's only finished three races so far. The rest have been DNFs. Compared to his teammate, he's completed 4 races, so reliability still an issue for that Lotus, as we've seen in the previous year. And so far, Moreno now holding on to that 10th spot. Mika Hakkinen, young Finn, not too far behind. Looking for any opportunity to get inside that top 10, which obviously has financial gains for the teams if they get inside that top 10. Slightly bigger payout than finishing outside of it. So Hakkinen will be looking to get inside that top 10. And then we have Michele Alboreto. Actually has been doing really well. But has just been on the cusp of that point a couple of times. Obviously, let's keep in mind he hasn't done the first 6 rounds, so has already scored 4 points so far in 4 races, so not bad, averaging a point a race. But has just been a bit unlucky, I feel like. Technical issues. So far, Alboreto definitely not doing bad for Minardi in that iconic Coca-Cola livery, Or not Coca-Cola. Sorry, that's the wrong branding. Someone will be very mad at me for that one. It's the Pepsi car, of course. You wouldn't want to get those two mixed up. That is a lawsuit waiting to happen. And Eddie Lawson, meanwhile, in the Eurobrund. Eurobrund, one of those teams that has been silently working in the background, have been scrapping for the points at the tail end, and well, currently they're 9th in the standings, above BMW and Williams. So as a newcomer, definitely respectable and pretty incredible, to be fair, to be in front of a engine manufacturer being BMW, and then Williams, that has had well, their fair share of successes so far, have had their championships. And so yeah, Eurobrund coming in here with motorcycle. Oh, let's see, something happened there. Oh, Maurizio Gugelmin has made a mistake. In the last chicane, he must have went off and went into the barrier, but that means 2 Ferraris are out, and this turns the championship on its head. A double DNF for Ferrari. That is not what manager Machihila would like to see, but that does give an incredible opportunity for other teams to score points here. What a shame for Ferrari, as they were looking so solid on their previous 4 races, really. They've been really good with only 1 DNF, but now disaster strikes for Ferrari, and a mistake from Gugelmin and technicalities, or technical issues, mechanical issues for Fittipaldi rather, make it so that both of them drop out of this race. This now means that both of the Tyrrells are in the points. Both Andretti and Unser Jr. in the points. And curiously, 9 laps in, only 2 casualties, being both Ferraris, which shame here, because this track was really suited to that Ferrari. High speed, lots of engine power required, but again, just gives a really good opportunity for the rest of the teams to pick up the points and chase down Ferrari. So now Nelson Piquet in 4th. This means that Alain Prost retains that lead, and he's extending it over Jan Lammers and John Nielsen. Now looking really good as well for Zach Speed. The position here to score plenty of points, 14 points in the current positions that they're in. And obviously Alain Prost looking to score those 10 points. Well, McLaren could really do with those points right now. So the only hope for Pedro Diaz is probably that Almas now also somehow makes his way up into the points, but Prost carrying the banner and has been really putting in the work here for McLaren, scoring I think something like 3/4 of all the points for the team. So yeah, Lammers 2nd, John Nielsen 3rd. They're looking good for some points. And then Nelson Piquet, of course, for Benetton. He's going to be desperate for some points as well to stay ahead of Lotus. They're currently tied in the standings. And Benetton has 2 wins. Meanwhile, Lotus has 1, so Benetton is in 4th right now over the 5th of Lotus, but with these results, we could be looking at Benetton slightly eking out a bit of a gap to Lotus. Only talking about 2 points at the moment. Yeah, looking good. And then Ross Cheever obviously up into 5th, and he's actually only a 2nd behind Nelson Piquet. And as we're getting into the latter stage of the season, there's been talks about rule changes for the next season. I think well, a lot of drivers have been complaining about the rear view mirrors not being big enough. They can't visually see anything as there is a BMW of Teo Fabi with a, it seems to be a water leak, white smoke coming out of the back of the BMW. And now also Nelson Piquet in the same lap getting a water leak. And I'm not sure, is Piquet... Yes, he's past the pits, so... Oh, that will be topsy-turvy, but he won't make it. And then Teo Fabi grinds to a halt on his way to the bus stop chicane. And yes, he will, just before the pit entrance, pull over to the side. And I assume Nelson Piquet will be pulling off to the side here as well. And yes, he does. He does so in Lecombe, heading up to Malmedy. That is another 2 DNF, so Spa, obviously high speed, very taxing on the engine, and we can see those results right now. As, oh, and then Martin Brundle. It's all happening on lap 11 here, as Martin Brundle now has smoke billowing out of the back of the Williams car, and, well, once again, the Taylor Williams haven't had luck go their way so far this season, and the struggles continue really even after a change of management. And one would hope that that happens. And now JJ Leto as well. What is happening on this lap? Jay Leto now has smoke coming out of the back, so plenty of DNFs, and oh, JJ Leto goes into the back of Martin Brundle, and I'm sure he wasn't supposed to. Maybe he lost control, maybe the transmission went, I'm not sure, but plows into the back of Martin Brundle's car, and let's hope they're both okay. Wow, that was 4 DNFs in 1 lap, I think. In a lap's distance. That has now really spread out the field, so again, good for some drivers here though, with the Benetton dropping out. As we were speaking about Benetton possibly extending the lead, it now looks like Ayrton Senna back up into 5th now after that initial mistake. He can score some good points. Meanwhile as well, Ross Cheever looking good for Minardi to score some decent points. And then we have Alonso Jr. in 7th, Michael Andretti in 6th. So I'm not sure where the swap of position happened. Maybe when passing Nelson Piquet, might have been a swap of position there for Tyrrell, but they're both now promoted up into 6th and 7th, which they'll be happy with. And now we have Mika Hakkinen for Ligier, with the possibility of picking up a point here. And oh, more calamities here, as now the 2nd BMW of Bobby Rahal also seemingly is gonna pull over. And BMW with that extravagant design on the front wing. But seems that car is just a bit too heavy. It's a lot wider than some of the cars and a lot bulkier. And it hasn't seemed to gotten much effect, as now Bobby Rahal is on fire. The car is on fire, as we now have, who is that? Dalmas coming through. Us will now pull to the side. He does well to avoid any sort of incident. And will he pull off to the side? Yes, he does. The pit lane again, so the marshal should be close by to help. Let's hope no one runs wide at the chicane there. But we have Ricardo Patrese there in 15th with that early electrical issue, I think it was. Not sure. Then Jeff Lees in 14th, then Nakajima. Yannick Dalmas now in 12th, Alboreto in 11th. because he's on the cusp of that top 10. And Eddie Lawson now in the top 10 for Eurobrun, which is really good news, of course. And we still have the marshals clearing up some of the debris, I think, in the chicane. That's why the map is still up. Now Roberto Moreno in 9th, of course. Meanwhile, at the front, we have Alain Prost, who is slowly extending his lead. So yeah, about 3/10 faster than Jan Lammers. Or 2.5. As we look at the lap times. So Prost will slowly extend that lead over Jan Lammers. And, let's hope he can nurture this McLaren to the finish line, which would be incredible points gain for McLaren. Obviously, the big thing here is Zach Speed, who are the closest rival of Ferrari. And they could score 14 points here, which would bring them within 6 points, I think, of Ferrari at this rate. And obviously, Ferrari will only be getting the minimum payout here for this race, which would also help the other teams. But yeah, Prost doing a good job. Nearly 8 seconds ahead now on lap 14. And now we have a bit of a battle brewing here as Ross Cheever is starting to put his foot down. Cheever right onto the back of John Nielsen in the Zach Speed, and he's looking to get that podium for Minardi. Only one podium for Minardi so far this season after their really successful season last year, which was seemed to be mainly down to their engine, but Ross Cheever has developed quite nicely as a young driver, and he's now showing that compared to his teammate Michele Alboreto, who's obviously also experienced. But Cheever definitely good performance here in the slipstream down to Blanchiment. Up the inside, perhaps. No, he won't quite manage. Maybe into the bus stop. Will he go side by side? Yes, he does. Up the inside now. Beautiful move by Ross Cheever past John Nielsen. And John Nielsen actually slows up quite a bit there. So that is a great move by Ross Cheever, which moves him up into a podium paying position. Number 5, putting in the work, and now could be hunting down the likes of Jan Lammers. And meanwhile, we see John Nielsen actually struggling a bit on pace, as we now see Ayrton Senna as well. He's getting ever closer. So Senna just looking for a decent result here. He's had his fair share of DNFs. Currently 9th in the driver's standings. Has had a terrible run of mechanical issues. Has finished every other race, I think. Only finished 4 races so far, so out of the 10. So Lotus really just looking for a solid result here, and Senna might be able to offer that, as he now gets very close to John Nielsen. And yeah, Nielsen in this race trim, just dropping back a bit compared to his teammate. So Lammers is about 10 seconds ahead of his teammate, 9 or so, give or take. So yeah, Senna now closing up the Brazilian, chasing down the Norwegian, I think it is, if I'm not mistaken. Or is he Danish? Nielsen is Danish, isn't he? Yes, of course he's Danish. And don't know how I looked that up. So In 1989, we have special technology which allows me to access a database, find all the drivers. So, yeah, John Nielsen, Danish driver, obviously, and is now only a second ahead of Ayrton Senna. Senna really looking very speedy, and in the distance you can see Michael Andretti as well, not too far behind. So the Tyrrell looking very racy as well today. Getting ever closer, less than a second between them now, and I think by the time we get to the start finish straight, Senna might be right up to the gearbox of John Nielsen, as he'll be getting into the slipstream now. And Nielsen will be looking in his rearview mirrors. But yeah, going back to the rule changes, a lot of drivers are complaining about barely being able to make out anything in their rearview mirrors. So the plan is, I believe, to enlarge those, make them bigger for next season. So the drivers get that visibility. And then also, talking about detachable steering wheels. So there's been issues in the past where drivers can barely get out of the car because the steering wheel is in the way. And detachable steering wheels could offer a lot more room in case of crashes. In case of emergencies in the car, it would just allow the driver to exit the vehicle in a much more safe way and a lot faster, because it would free up a lot of room in the front part of the car where the driver's legs are, of course. And Senna now very close to Nielsen, so he's getting close in the obviously this is the Coca-Cola car, and obviously not fully sponsored by Coca-Cola, it's just a secondary sponsor for Lotus, but come to know that as the Apple car or the Rainbow car because of those extravagant colors that the Apple logo uses, the up-and-coming tech company. And now Senna mightily close to the back of Nielsen and heading up to Blanchimont. Let's see what is going to happen here. Pulls to the inside, doesn't quite get it done. Can he try something up into the bus stop like Ross Cheever? See, not quite close enough, I don't think. And now Senna once again heading up into La Source. Very close to Nielsen, and it'll only be a matter of laps, I think, before he can make a move here. Heading up to Eau Rouge Radillon. Surely he gets a good run out of here. In the slipstream now, and let's see, can he make this move into Lecon? No, he doesn't get quite close enough, so Zach Speed using its engine power to keep him at bay. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. The postman was at my front door. I had to answer that real quick. Here we go now. Ayrton Senna, again, coming up to Blanchimont, is gonna again pull to the inside, but at this point he should know that move is not on. Once again, John Nielsen defends it. Senna looking very fast, but he has to make this move soon here because he's losing time now to Michael Andretti behind. He's looking keen to get past those two. And now coming out of La Source once again. See if Senna can manage anything going up to Lecombe and Malmedy. Yeah, it just seems that Zach Speed has enough on the straights. Keep that Lotus behind. I think once again Senna won't be close enough, and you can see there in the background Michael Andretti slowly closing up now. And would be a good showing. As you can see there, my package was delivered in the bottom right, so just a heads up so you guys know as well. And yeah, Michael Andretti closing up. Let's see what his last lap was compared to guys in front. So he did a 58.4 while the cars in front were doing low 58. Senna did a 57. Just depended on some slipstream and such, I think. Senna now again really close, but well, it looks like he'll be trying that same move again up into Blanchimont probably. And again, that probably isn't gonna work out. No, but it is closer going into the bus stop now. Perhaps he can try something. Nope, not quite. So John Nielsen so far putting up a good defense against Senna. Senna keeps on preying on that Zach Speed, and Andretti now getting close. He might be getting into the slipstream, and well, he could be taking advantage of the situation soon. On the long straightaway once again. Once again, that Lotus not quite close enough, but now the Zach Speed is going defensive. So, Senna right onto the back of the Zach Speed, and Andretti again just in the background there. Doesn't quite have the same pace, I don't think, but he's just looking for any opportunity for the guys in front to make a mistake. Oh, and to the inside on Pouhon. Senna trying a move there. Not quite getting it done, but that was something else he tried, and again, John Nielsen just closing the door, as he can rightfully do. Senna now right onto that gearbox of the Zach Speed, and maybe he can pull alongside a bit quicker this time around, or they head into Blanchimont. Pulls alongside now. Is he far enough? No, backs out once again, so Nielsen keeping him behind. Here comes Andretti, who is edging on the cusp of slipstream. And once Andretti is in the mix, then a whole host of things could happen. So he'll be getting a double slipstream, of course. And Senna looking quite close now to the back of that Zach Speed. Speed just inching away out of the traction zones. Allows it to retain its lead. Now, Senna looks visually to be pretty close, but not close enough. And once again, Nielsen just showing his intentions, not ready to give up that position. If anything, just holding off Senna for his teammate. In the meanwhile, Satoru Nakajima, one of the first to make his pit stop. So he's looking at undercutting some of the cars in front, being Riccardo Patrese and Dalmas. Eurobrun again just running perfectly fine. Eddie Lawson in 9th right now, which is a good feat, right on the edge of those points. Again, Senna mightily close. And well, I guess we're gonna see the same move once again, or try and make the same move, which hasn't worked at all. Still isn't working. So Senna has to get a bit creative here, and or just make sure he sets up his run. And actually, Michael Andretti there with a mistake, and that was similar to probably something Googleman did. And yeah, Andretti lucky to not end his race there. Yeah, went wide, but I think he stayed clear of the barrier, so might be a sign of his tires starting to give way. Meanwhile, now we have John Nielsen, who's obviously been leading in front of Senna. He's getting his pit call, so he'll be coming in at the end of this lap, which might be a good idea just to get those fresh tires on, get a couple of laps in before Senna pits, and just eke out a little bit of a gap. He's a bit more comfortable, but he has been putting up a mighty defense, and will continue to do so. And then the question being, of course, can Senna capitalize off of Nielsen pitting? That will also be a big question. As Senna closes up once again. Is now right up to the back, heading into Fagna, and then turn 13, 14, heading into Stavlo. But again, Nielsen is gonna come in now at the end of this lap. And Senna once again trying that move up the inside. It's not gonna work, but we'll have a clean track to run on once Nielsen comes in here. He'll go straight on. There he goes, flying into the pits. Very fast pit here, and Spa, as the camera doesn't quite pick it up, but Ross Cheever still in 3rd, actually closed up to Jan Lammers, so Ross Cheever could possibly look at a 2nd place here today. Keeps up the pace he's going at. Meanwhile, John Nielsen coming back out of the pits, and he'll rejoin in front of Alonso Jr. and Mika Hakkinen, who are now fairly close together, and also Eddie Lawson on the cusp of points. So let's compare their lap times. So Eddie Lawson 58.5, and both cars in front, Alonso Jr. and Mika Hakkinen, 58.8. So Lawson looking very good in this part of the race. Obviously, the Eurobrun now running on a lower fuel mode, and maybe the car likes that. And what is going on? Oh, is that Prost? Oh, it's Dalmas. Oh my goodness. They have similar helmets, that's why I was... So Dalmas with a mistake, which sees him losing his front wing. Seems like he locked up into La Source and, well, missing the entirety of the left side of his wing. He will have to come in. Lucky for him, he's within the pit window, so outside of the time lost on this lap, going into the pits, he shouldn't lose too much time. Prost still leading, electing to still stay out. He hasn't come into pit yet, so he's looking at doing a little bit of a qualifying stint, it seems. So a shorter second stint will allow it to really push the envelope. Lammers comes in, sitting there. Attack speed squad doing their job. We now also have Hakkinen, who's gonna come in. Ooh, a little bit held up there by Alonso Jr. in front, but he's looking to undercut Alonso Jr. Lige also looking good. We'll follow him into the pits. He's in here. Let's see. Go. Jack him up. And then back down again. Comes out in La Source. Shortcuts La Source out onto the track again. He's ready to get going on that fresh set of rubber. While a lot of drivers still electing to stay out for quite a bit. Lammers has done his pit stop, so he might be looking at doing a little undercut on Ross Cheever and Alain Prost also. But Alain Prost is really far ahead, about 10 seconds or so ahead, or even more, so I don't think Lammers will make up that difference. Meanwhile, Dalmas now in the pits, getting that front wing sorted out. Lammers doing good. Is making up, well, actually he's making up a lot of time compared to Alain Prost. I think he took about a second and a half out of him there. We'll compare again at the line, but I think he was 23 seconds behind last sector split. You know, as he comes across the line. 1-0, so yeah, Jan Lammers taking chunks out of the cars in front. So, well, maybe a bit of a masterclass here for Jan Lammers. Senna now gets his pit call. Patrese now getting his pit call. Obviously, his race was ruined by some earlier mechanical issues. And meanwhile, Lammers running quite nicely. John Nielsen also made his pit stop, so he'll be trying to solidify. Well, they're both going for that second and third place, I think. So the question will be when Ross Cheever and Alain Prost are going to pit. But yeah, you can see Jan Lammers again taking about half a second out of Prost. So that undercut could be doing miracles right now. And well, so far it doesn't look like the top two are ready to pit yet. See here how much Nielsen is gaining to the leader as we get a split time here soon. After the first sector, he was 31 seconds behind, 31.3. See now, as we head 31.3. Yeah, he's gained 1.3 seconds, is it? Yeah, seems like it. He's now heading up to Michael Andretti. Michael Andretti is still also out on his older tires. So a lot of these drivers electing to run longer, a lot of the teams. Which is curious to see, of course. But I'm sure there's a reason for it, because they will be able to put in really fast laps towards the end of the race. Low fuel load. Tire won't be nearly as worn as some of these guys that have already pitted. Now Nielsen getting close to the back of Michael Andretti, and Shirley on the straight should be dispatching of the American. It's a really fast run through there. You can just see how much he closes up But it won't be enough, I don't think, to do it on this straightaway. But we'll just go on board with him for a second. And see how much more speed he has. Yeah, you can just see how much more speed he's taking through the corner compared to Andretti in front, who's obviously managing those tires. Right onto the back of him now. See, maybe you can even try something up to Pouhon. We know that Zach Speed has quite good engine power, but actually, Michael Andretti holding on perfectly fine there. And Alboreto also getting his pit call. Andretti going slightly defensive in front, so he's not too keen on letting the Zach Speed past. Here comes John Nielsen now. We'll try up the inside, but also similar to Ayrton Senna, won't be getting that move done. Now into the braking zone, into the chicane, really closing up. Maybe into La Source here. Again, Andretti doing enough to keep that Zach Speed behind for now. Now heading up to Eau Rouge, past the grandstands on the left there, the crowd cheering as Nielsen readies his move. Not quite. Now in the slipstream, let's see. Yeah, that Tyrrell actually has impressive straight line speed. Of managing to keep John Nielsen behind, and John Nielsen now losing heaps of time, which might see him lose the opportunity to pass Ross Cheever before the pit stop phase. Up to Pouhon again. Oh, and someone had an issue. That is Michele Alboreto. So Alboreto making a mistake going up into Radillon, and he's come off. The front nose completely gone on that car. So let's hope Alboreto is okay. Meanwhile, Dalmas still going. And Lammers now on the back of Ross Cheever. Let's actually go to that vantage point because oh, now Prost and Cheever are getting their pit calls. But at this point, Jan Lammers has already caught up to Ross Cheever, so these calls coming in very late for those drivers. And now, and they touch. Jan Lammers and Ross Cheever touch going into Eau Rouge, and that could have ended horribly. But now we have Jan Lammers up the inside, and wow, I'm amazed they got away unscathed there. Oh, and I think actually Ross Cheever nearly running into the back of him. He must be furious with the driving of Jan Lammers. It's a high-risk maneuver going into Eau Rouge there, side by side. But luckily, both of them made it out cleanly. Now Lammers around 15 seconds behind Prost, so I'm not sure the difference is going to be. Obviously, Prost will be on much fresher tires. And Benai, as he's now exiting turn 15, Stavolo heading up to Blanchimont. But Jan Lammers not too far behind, and the sector split again, gained 2 seconds there. In one sector, pretty much. So, or 1.5 seconds, so yeah. Picking up a lot of time, and we'll follow Prost into the pits. See how long this takes him. But just remember, he will have much fresher tires. Here we go. Tires go on. Now, heading out once again. Cheever coming in now. And here comes Jan Lammers. Will just about be able to overtake Prost, maybe. Oh, and there comes Prost out of the pits. And now Jan Lammers in the slipstream, possibly. Let's see here. Is Lammers gonna try a move? It's gonna be difficult. He's gonna try up the inside. Let's see here. Oh, and Prost holds on. And now Prost on those fresh tires. Those will probably make the difference here. And Jan Lammers might have only gotten one opportunity at that pass. But has made a huge difference to his gap to Ross Cheever. And now the second Lotus also reporting issues. Roberto Moreno in 8th place, which would make Al Unser Jr. get back into the points. Yes, fire there for Roberto Moreno. And one of the Lotuses once again as Eddie Lawson trying a move there on Al Unser Jr. Not quite. But Eddie Lawson really scrapping for the points here for Eurobrun. And, well, a single point for these teams who are fighting for those last couple of positions in the standings. 1 point can really make a world of difference. Eddie Lawson now showing pace. And, he's gonna try up the inside at Pool, but doesn't manage to. And that iconic Jägermeister livery doing justice, and that is Moreno there in his very, very colorful Lotus car, pulling over to the side. Meanwhile, we have John Nielsen, who's getting close to Ayrton Senna, and Michael Andretti. Funnily enough, Michael Andretti still holding on to that position. And Senna has not managed to find a way past a mighty defense from Michael Andretti, who's been holding on for, well, what must be at least 10 laps now. Mighty defense from Andretti. And again holds on into Lecombe. And then through Malmedy we go. We can see Senna just visually so much faster, being able to retain a lot more corner speed, but Andretti not giving up as he slightly runs wide there. He's getting his pit call now, but he's run so long on these tires, 30 laps. And, well, that is starting to show as now John Nielsen is looking for that move as well, but Andretti not giving up in that Tyrrell. He's down on pace, but not ready to give up these positions. And if anything, he's just trying to back up these guys and give his teammate or himself a better chance at retaining some points or gaining some points, as he'll be on really fresh tires for that last stint. And now we can see as well Alain Prost at the front is extending that lead. But the big question here for me is, with Jan Lammers, who's pitted so early, got that undercut on Ross Cheever, will he be able to hold on to that position? Because that might have been a really good strategical decision then to come in early. And Alain Prost now still leading 2.5 seconds in front of Jan Lammers there, with just over 12 laps to go. And yeah, Prost looking solid. And comes Lammers. Then Ross Cheever, who's obviously trying to close down the gap to Jan Lammers. Ayrton Senna now in 4th, who's tangled with a battle with John Nielsen. And now that Senna has some clean air, he can really spread his wings, try and get away from Nielsen again, as he was struggling so much with Michael Andretti. And Michael Andretti making his pit now, and he's only about 10 seconds or so behind Nielsen and Senna, so I wouldn't say it's impossible for him to actually get up to these guys. But we'll have to see how his pace pans out after his pit stop. And obviously, as we're looking now, Eddie Lawson has gotten past Al Unser Jr. But Lawson into the points for Eurobrun, which is quite an incredible feat. Let's hope Lawson can hold on till the end. And well, both of the Eurobruns now inside the top 10, which is really good for them. Financially, will be a bonus that both of them are in the top 10. They're really looking at capitalizing here today at Spa. Looking good. And obviously taking advantage of those cars that have not quite had the mechanical reliability as Eurobrun have been looking. I wanted to say mechanically they've been looking good, but in the last couple of races they've really struggled to finish a race. And I'm not quite certain anymore if it was because of driver error or mechanical issues, but yeah, in the last 3 races they've only had 1 finish, I think. Yeah, 1 finish with no points. So they're looking to turn it around now with a double finish here today and potentially some points. And yeah, like I'm saying, Michael Andretti on those fresh tires, it's definitely not impossible for him, as John Nielsen is now only 8 seconds ahead. It is not impossible for Michael Andretti to get back up to 4th and 5th position there, I don't think. But yeah, Lawson doing a great job so far. And the motorcycle champion once again proving he can be a menace in car racing as well, even though he doesn't quite have the machinery under him to prove that point. Getting a Eurobrun into the points is plenty of points proven. Slowly eking out that gap to Al Unser behind him. Yeah, Lawson looking comfortable. Mika Hakkinen also, of course, for Ligier, looking fairly good. And Michael Andretti in 6th position, so he's looking to pick up the points for Tyrrell here today. John Nielsen in 5th. Yeah, as you can see, John Nielsen, I think Senna and Andretti are pretty close on lap times, but Nielsen is slowly dropping back now, as we've seen throughout the race. His race pace just not quite up there like his teammate Jan Lammers. And yeah, he's slowly dropping back to Michael Andretti. As you can see, Michael Andretti in the background there, so Andretti still fighting for that 5th position here in the race, which would be a massive result for Tyrrell. And well, Michael Andretti also, out of the 2 teammates, has scored the most amount of points for Tyrrell. 21 so far on his name, and could be looking at adding another 4 onto those. Would be a great feat for him. So far, he's slowly just making his way up to John Nielsen and Ayrton Senna. I don't think he'll quite be able to get up to the back of Senna, But it very much depends on how he can dispatch of John Nielsen once he gets up to the back of that Zach speed. Meanwhile, Alancer Jr., he's also one of those drivers who's just been slightly dropping back a bit. Looked good at the start. Then race started falling apart. He's still on the cusp of those points, of course. So anything can happen, of course. It's still about 9 laps to go. So you don't want to count him out. And then Patrese inside the top 10 still. Nakajima now in 11th. Then Dalmas obviously had that issue. He's well, not been looking great as he's, well, struggling to even stay in front of the Williams, which is quite curious, as we know the Williams is one of the slowest cars. Meanwhile, his teammate is leading the race, so yeah, a bit of a disastrous race for Dalmas, and yeah, his teammate Alain Prost on 39 points. Meanwhile, Dalmas only 8 points, so big discrepancy there. And actually, you now have Jeff Lees trying a move there onto the McLaren of Dalmas. Doesn't quite get it done, but showing that he's faster. And let's follow him around for a bit as we keep an eye on the delta between Michael Andretti and John Nielsen. Jeff Lees once again closing up, not quite close enough to try anything. And then Mas holding on, Nakajima on his own, Patrese on his own. The race has kind of died down a bit, even though we have these late battles still going on, or possibly some late battles as Andretti. He's getting ever closer, within 5 seconds now of John Nielsen in front, so Andretti really pushing this Tyrrell, wants to have some extra points. So Nielsen does his best to hold on. Ayrton Senna now in 4th for Lotus, which would also be a great result. Another 5 points, which could be added on to the tally of Lotus, which would make them overtake Benetton in the standings. So that would be good, but let's not forget Lotus was touted as one of the championship contenders this season, and well, unfortunately, their season has not quite worked out in that way. Ross Cheever now solidly in 3rd position. He looks clear of P4. Ayrton Senna doesn't quite have the pace, I think, to catch up to Lummers, but let's see the lap times. So Cheever just under a second a lap faster, which would make it very close at the end, actually, between him and Lummers. But Cheever still in contention for that 2nd position. But he's gonna have to put in an incredible stint here towards the end. And well, I think the matching... Yeah, he's matching Prost. He's actually going a 10th or so quicker than Prost and a 2nd lap quicker than Jan Lammers. So not bad. Not bad by the young American. Meanwhile now, within 4 seconds, Michael Andretti, you can see him there, coming around La Source. And he's hunting down that Zach speed. An inter-brother rivalry between Domi and Eddie. And, well, Domi looking to get the better of him, at least with one driver. And those Zach speeds should be, well, in technicality, should be a lot faster than than the Tyrrell, so Domi really putting in a good effort here with his managing. Meanwhile, Mika Hakkinen still in 7th place, doing good in that Ligier. Meanwhile, at the front, Alain Prost still holding on, extending that lead. Yeah, slowly extending that lead. Ross Cheever getting ever closer to Jan Lammers, about 5 seconds behind. Then Senna solidly in 4th, I think. John Nielsen getting caught up by Michael Andretti, and Andretti, see there how much more closer he is every lap, taking about a second out of the Danish driver. And the question will be now, can Nielsen put up the same defense that Michael Andretti was doing earlier? Which, well, to be fair to Andretti, he's made it so that Nielsen and Senna couldn't get through for the longest amount of time. And that has seemingly paid off for him here if he can get past Zach Speed in a couple of laps here. Meanwhile now Eddie Lawson again running pretty nicely. Let's compare his lap times to Alonso Jr. behind. Yeah, slightly faster, so no issues there. And Lee Lawson just carrying on. Then comes Alonso Jr. He won't be inside the points today here if it finishes as it stands. Nakajima just outside of the top 10 now. And again, Dalmas only just staying ahead of that Williams, which, well, is a cause of concern. Let's take a look now here as we go into La Source with 5 laps to go. Michael Andretti within a second now. Michael Andretti just a lot faster through some of these corners and trying to catch up to John Nielsen. Nielsen trying his best to end up, and oh, look at the amount of overspeed here that Michael Andretti gets in the slipstream now of Nielsen in front of him. Right onto the gearbox. Like we said, now the question will be, will Andretti find a way to get past Nielsen in the last remaining laps here? Right, coming up to Blanchimont side by side. Oh, inches ahead, they're still side by side. Doesn't quite do it. Into the bus stop perhaps. Sends it up the inside, and Michael Andretti is through. John Nielsen slowing down massively there into the chicane, but wonderful move by Michael Andretti. the Tyrrell is up into 5th position, and Ross Cheever with a transmission failure. Coming down the big straightaway heading up to Lecombe, Ross Cheever pulls out in the last 4 laps of the race, which means Ayrton Senna is going to inherit that podium position, and Michael Andretti will head up into that 4th position, which is again more points for Tyrrell. And well, Minardi has had a calamity here, as they have a double DNF now, and very unfortunate. That's just the way it goes sometimes. And I can't believe it, in the last 4 laps, disaster for Minardi, with Michael Andretti now into 4th position for Tyrrell, which would be massive. And also means Alonso Jr. heads up into the points. So that would be a double points finish for Tyrrell, which, well, honestly, they've been very good at. If they've had a double finishing pair, they've actually always scored points, both of them. So, and now more issues, electrical issues for Mika Hakkinen late in the race here, and he will have to come into the pits, which means both Eddie Lawson and Al Unser Jr. might be able to pass him. And surely they will, because there you go, there's Eddie Lawson. He is closing up now, as the Ligier is going massively slow. And heading up into Blanchimont, let's hope they don't collide, as Lawson does find his way through there, and Hakkinen pulls into the pits, and there comes Al Unser Jr. So in the last couple of laps, this is all working into the favor of some of these lower ranked teams, being Eurobrunn and then Tyrrell, as they both get to score some more points. For now, at least, the race is not over, obviously. Meanwhile, Alain Prost still extending his lead at the front. Now, Riccardo Patrese in the points, but obviously less points than his teammate Hakkinen was gonna secure. But he will salvage 1 point for Ligier at least, with the way this is going. But Hakkinen now comes out of the pits. And I don't want to say it's impossible for him to gain more points. He does have a fresh set of tires, so he will be incredibly fast. But he's going to have to put in 3 laps of his life to get close to the other drivers here. But we'll keep an eye on him anyway. In the meanwhile, Eddie Lawson now up into 6th, so possibly picking up 3 much needed points here for Eurobrunn, which would bring their total up to 15. And it would just make that lead over BMW and Williams a bit more comfortable. And yeah, so far we must say Eurobrunn has had a really successful season. And well, if that's anything to go by, if they can just improve year on year, then they must be doing good. Perhaps maybe even a bigger kind of motorsport name can buy them out, or help support them at least in their endeavors, and could be looking at a formidable squad here. Lawson looking good. Meanwhile, we have Andretti still pushing on solidly, has now gapped John Nielsen. There's Riccardo Patrese, who's, well, actually catching up, seems to Sir Jr., and there comes Mika Hakkinen. Now we wait and see after this lap how much time Mika Hakkinen is gaining, but I don't think he'll be gaining 5 seconds a lap over his competitors. So yeah, now it's a question of can Al Unser Jr. hold off Riccardo Patrese behind him for those 2 points. Does look like it. We have Alain Prost still leading, going into lap 42, 2 laps remaining for Prost, and well, with this victory and the DNF of Gugelmin, it will actually be Alain Prost taking the lead of the Drivers' World Championship. And what a big turnaround for Alain Prost here in those last 2 races now. He's gotten a victory at Hungaroring, and he's on his way for a victory here at Spa-Francorchamps. So McLaren turning it around. And most importantly, Alain Prost turning it around, because teammate Dalmas not quite adding to the points total. But Prost looking dominant here today. Very solid. And he's been instrumental now to the rise of McLaren, and McLaren also obviously gaining 10 extra points. Getting closer to Zach Speed. Not closer to Zach Speed, because they'll be scoring more points, I believe. But closer to Ferrari at least. So the Drivers' Championship still up for grabs, and Prost will now outscore Gugelmin by 1 point. He'll be heading to 49 points, while Gugelmin is on 48. Prost once again showing the world that he's not done. Looking at a championship, and he wants to get it. Then goes into La Source for the last time, heading on to his last lap. And meanwhile, let's take a look here. Lammers running in second, solidly clear of Ayrton Senna, who's looking at a podium, which would be his 3rd this season. So very nicely done by the Brazilian. Then Michael Andretti in that 4th position, looking to pick up good points. Then comes John Nielsen, just not quite up to pace today, but still a top 5. And Eddie Lawson, of course, in the Eurobrun. He's looking at really good points for the team. Then comes Alonso Jr., the 2nd Tyrrell, and then Riccardo Patrese. Let's follow the leader of our race, if we can find him. There we go, Alain Prost. He heads down the hill, and he heads towards Rouen. And Prost, yeah, just looking dominant today, as he did at the Hungaroring. And obviously, the fact that both Ferraris DNF'd helped him, but obviously sometimes luck goes your way and sometimes it goes against you. So today he's been on the long end of the straw. And as he heads now through Blanchiment and up to the bus stop chicane, the Frenchman Alain Prost showing once again why he is in the sport, and why incredibly he goes on to take another victory and takes the lead of the Drivers' Championship. Alain Prost comes across the line to win Spa-Francorchamps. And then we have Jan Lammers coming in 2nd for Zach Speed, scoring good points. The Dutchman in the number 15 car coming across the line. Then the Brazilian Ayrton Senna in the Coca-Cola / Apple Lotus, finally stringing some results together and scoring good points for Lotus. Ayrton Senna comes across the line very nicely. Then Michael Andretti, of course. I'm sure manager Domi will be delighted with this result, as Michael Andretti up to 4th.
Well done. We're in the point.
And here comes then John Nielsen. Oh, he just headed to La Source. But then Eddie Lawson, of course, big story here for Eurobrun, as they managed to pick up 3 whole points here today. And then Alonso Jr. and Patrese finishing very close together with Alanster Jr. in 7th and Patrese in 8th. To round out the point scorers, then Mika Hakkinen with that late issue, unfortunately not scoring any points. Luck not going his way here today. And then here comes Satoru Nakajima for Eurobrun, getting inside the top 10. So good for Eurobrun. Get both of their drivers inside the top 10. Get some of those extra funds under their belt. And solid result for them. And then we have Dalmas and Jeff Lees finishing 11th and 12th. Last of the finishers, as the rest of the grid has DNF'd. Go back to the front car. Alain Prost here again. Wonderful victory for the Frenchman, and solid result as we now go to the full race result. Here we go. So Alain Prost finishes in first for McLaren. Then second comes Jan Lammers in the Zach Speed. Rounding out the podium will be Ayrton Senna in the Lotus. Then Michael Andretti with a doubles point scoring finish with his teammate in 7th. Phil Nielsen in 5th. Eddie Lawson in 6th. Unser Jr. for Taylor for 7th then. Ricardo Patrese for Ligier in 8th. Mika Hakkinen unfortunately just outside the points because of that late issue in 9th. Nakajima in 10th. Dalmas a lap down together with Jeff Lees in 11th and 12th. Ross Cheever unfortunately suffering from that transmission failure late on in the race. And that is, well, put him out of contention for the podium here today, unfortunately. And Roberto Moreno with an engine failure. Alboreto with his crash going up through Radion. Bobby Rahal, engine issues. Brundle, Leto as well. Water leaks for Piquet and Fabi in 19th and 20th. Then Gugelmin with a DNF. He crashed at the last chicane. And then Fittipaldi also with an engine issue. So disaster here for Ferrari today. And the rest of the grid scoring some good points. And most importantly, Alain Prost takes the lead of the Drivers' World Championship. What a race. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I can't wait to see what happens in the rest of the season as the battle for championship, at least the drivers, is heating up. See you guys in the next one. Goodbye.